Good evening. It is time for today's tax talk. I am your host. I'm attorney Stephen Leahy. It is the Monday, the 22nd day of November, the year of our Lord 2021. And we're going to talk about the IRS tax gap and the Build Back Better plan that was passed in the House last Friday. Won't you join us? Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about today, the Build Back Better plan. Again, as you imagine, you probably know that it passed last. I'm changing there you go. It did pass last Friday. And there's lots in this bill that we don't know what's in the bill yet. Some things have been taken out, like the bank statement. We have an article about that. It's been the bank statement reporting. I hope was taken out forever, but we don't know until it gets passed through it still has to go through the Senate reconciliation, and it has to go back to the House. So we'll see what goes on. They are really pushing very hard for this bank statement, because I don't think they can fund it without it. And of course, without the funding, a lot of Congress people are hesitant to back this, because the CBO has now come out with the scoring. Now the Biden administration has said this: don't pay attention to the CBO scoring. Although Biden himself has also often called the CBO the gold standard of how this stuff should be scored, and they're just not scoring it the way that he wants it, and so they're telling us to don't pay attention to that scoring. It's not relevant. They're way off. We know what's going to happen, because we know that our experience here is that the government is always very good at projecting, aren't they? So I want to talk about. There's a couple of good stories about this, so let's just go into that right away. Okay, there's my. So there's a lot of good stories. Elon Musk, Representative Bobart, attacked Biden's proposed IRS staffing increase, because it's. Now, this is what's going on. Let me kind of go back here and kind of refresh this. The Build Back Better plan appropriates $80 billion to the IRS over 10 years. $80 billion. That's that's about a 70% increase of the IRS budget. Now, I hear all the time how the IRS budget has been cut dramatically, draconianly, wrongly, from years ago. And if you look at 10 years ago, their budget, they have a real cut in real dollars. But and I've explained this on the show before about the difference and why they're not accounting for the vast difference in the way the IRS works now, especially with tax returns and the processing of tax returns, which are now done electronically, which used to be a very labor-intensive affair. It took many people in facilities and trucks and storage facilities and equipment to open and process those tax returns. Perhaps very soon we should go over. I remember I had that video where I showed the video about how the IRS shows us how much labor it takes to process these tax returns. And now 95% in that neighborhood are done electronically. And so they don't need the people that they had before. And they keep pointing to that number and saying, look at where we have less people. You don't need as many people. And in real dollars, I believe they have more money than ever before. That's my opinion. But, of course, they disagree with me. But I have facts on my side. and they have the hopes of a bigger organization on their side. And so that's kind of what's going on here. But I wanted to then talk about let's go back to the story then, because I think that, okay, so here's the story. There's some great numbers in here that I found very convincing. Tesla CEO Elon Musk and Representative Lauren Boebert teamed up to rip President Joe Biden's efforts to double the staff of the Internal Revenue Service in a bid to crack down on ultra-wealthy tax cheats. To put the proposed staffing boost into context, the Colorado Republican compared it to the workforces of Tesla and Apple, which employ 70,000 and 154,000 individuals, respectively, worldwide. An increase of 87,000 supposedly to monitor the 614 billionaires in America, she tweeted Sunday, prompting the response from one such billionaire, Musk, worth some $311 billion. What is his income? Whatever. The IRS already has dedicated audit teams for high net worth individuals. The doubling of staff is for everyone else, Musk warned. The proposed hiring spree is part of Biden administration's Build Back Better agenda as it seeks to boost funding to the IRS by some $80 billion and crack down on tax dodges, according to Politico. Oh, I wonder why that is. Both the hiring and funding increase would be phased in over years. Well, you can't hire 87,000 people in a year. An increase of 87,000 supposedly. The agency's workforce would never grow by more than 15% per year, according to a May report from the Treasury Department, and its annual budget would grow by about 10% per year. Now, how could that be? How could their annual budget grow by 10% a year when they're putting in $80 billion? Right now, their budget is about $14 billion a year. So 10% would be $1.4 billion. They're getting $8 billion a year. How does that work out? It doesn't work out. The same Treasury report found that the so-called tax gap, or difference between taxes owed by the government and actually paid, was nearly $600 billion in 2019 and will raise to about $7 trillion over the course of the next decade if left unaddressed. These numbers are so flexible and fungible that they change them no matter where you run. And you'll see there's another story in here that tells me that the tax gap is $1 trillion. These unpaid taxes come at a cost to American households and compliant taxpayers as policymakers choose using rising deficits, lower spending on necessary priorities, and further tax increases to compensate for the lost revenue, the report says. See, we need more money to get more money from the American people, and it's all the good people that are suffering, and we want to stop that. Lauren Boebert, to get sense of how large, and we already talked about this, so I'm not going to go through this. These are the tweets. Tweets are now news. The tax gap disproportionately benefits high earners who accrue more of their income from non-labor sources, while misreporting is common. No, it isn't. Musk has more skin in the debate than most. The overwhelmingly majority of his wealth is tied up in stock and options related to his three companies, because he started these companies and he owns them and he owns stock of them. Is that a bad thing? Is that something he should be penalized for because he's not a W-2 employee? That means he pays almost nothing in income taxes because he doesn't take a substantial cash salary for running the companies. Instead, he's paid with shares of the companies, which aren't taxed until they're sold or options are exercised. And then he pays capital gains tax. And that's just a fact. Critics of the current tax system had sought to roll out bills that would target extremely wealthy entrepreneurs like Musk and Jeff Bezos, but none have so far seen substantial progress. So there's the rich people that we already, you know how I feel about this. The rich are never going to pay more than they're already paying because they already own the Congress. The Congress is, we already, look at the SALT, the state and income tax deduction that they took out, that changed under Trump to make the wealthy pay more in taxes. And now they're putting it back in so the wealthy can get their tax refund. Their tax deduction. It's they. On one side they're saying they're trying to collect. The other side said they're not. That they're not. It's just. But the reality is what the reality is. Read the story, and so this goes back to just another story about Elon Musk and Boebert. The Build Back Better Act's investment in the IRS will substantially reduce the tax gap, and this is what they're telling us. Okay, so and the tax gap is you because you're paying your taxes, and everybody else is a cheat and a liar, which is just not true. It's just not true. I don't want to read this whole thing, but I can tell you, increased IRS funding would raise revenue, reverse longstanding neglect. The neglect is that they cut the IRS budget because they didn't need the money. Actually, they never really cut the budget. They just didn't let it grow as fast as it was growing. And remember what happened several years ago when the IRS was targeting American citizens and using their surplus and money to set up these commissions and conventions for the IRS and spending millions and millions of dollars on frivolous things that came to light and targeting American citizens. And so Congress decided not to fund it as well as they wanted to be funded. Again, it just doesn't make sense to me. The CBO's official score will likely exclude savings from tax enforcement due to scoring conventions. So don't worry about the CBO. They're telling you that we're only going to get $200 billion, but we're going to get $1 trillion. We believe us. That's what they're telling us. Treasury estimates estimates of tax compliance revenue err on the side of caution and should be taken into account, notwithstanding more conservative CBO analysis. I don't think the CBO is conservative enough, in my opinion, because they just take whatever they tell you. And so if they tell you, well, we're gonna scale our cuts back in 10 years, then they take that out. If they're gonna say, oh, we're gonna scale up our revenue in 5 years, they put that in, even though that never is gonna materialize. And that's how they play this game. And nobody knows how to play this game better than Biden and his administration on how to play with these SBO or CBO numbers. Stronger reporting requirements would boost revenues further. Rebuilding the capacity of the IRS will provide a sound source of revenue that can support the ambitious and needed investments in climate, social, and community supports. So this is what America needs. We need more tax dollars for the climate change, for social community support, for education and health care. Of those, you're paying your own health care, aren't you? Are they going to pay your health care? No, they're not giving you the health care. That's not where it's going. Unbelievable. IRS will improve the agency's ability to communicate with taxpayers. I wanted to put this in there. There's a story in here. Without IRS reporting language, there was a story in here from the commissioner of the IRS, and I just wanted to point this out because I thought it was so absurd. Here it is. At least an extra $100 million for every 10% increase in phone calls answered, he said. $100 million. Right now, they get a lot of phone calls. I'll give them that, but they don't answer. They've answered very few of them. I think they're at 10%. So to get 20%, they need $100 million. Is that $100 million? And I often ask people, what do you think the budget of the? I already mentioned it in this but the budget of the IRS is already at $14 billion. Add another $8 billion. Right now, it's $22 billion. And the IRS needs more. They can't answer the phone because they only get $22 billion. Doesn't make any sense, does it, ladies and gentlemen? Well, it doesn't make sense to me, and that's why I wanted to bring it up today. So thank you for joining us. I wanted to also ask you to like and subscribe to this venture. Who else is giving you tax news? And as I mentioned last week, tax news is really the heart of all news. Because all news involves how they're gonna get the money, taxes, and how they're gonna spend it. That's also taxes, right? They're spending your tax dollars, so it all comes down to taxes. And all of this stuff with the government is all about taxes. How they're gonna get it from you, and then what are they gonna do with it when they get it? And so it's so important. So please like and subscribe to our page. We really appreciate it. And remember, if you're fighting the IRS, where do you start when you're fighting the IRS? Well, you start by getting a copy of my book, Deal with Your IRS Problems Today. Get a copy. Go to freeirsbook.com, freeirsbook.com. Get a copy of my book, Deal with Your IRS Problem Today. If you want a hard copy, I'm going to ask you to pay a small shipping and handling fee. If you don't want a hard copy, go to freeirsbook.com. Don't put in your credit card information, but give me your address and your email address, and I'll make sure you get into our membership site. The membership site has the book in PDF and Word document format, also audio version, and a commentary on each and every chapter by me. So get a copy of my book. Go to freeirsbook.com. Love to have you join us. Remember, tomorrow is Crypto Tuesday, so we're going to be here talking about crypto. So I hope you join us. Let me make sure that this is going to work here, because sometimes it does, and what I've learned is sometimes it doesn't. Okay. So anyway, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow. Crypto Tuesday. Be here or be square. Thank you.